Welcome to my wood shop. My name is Scott Hampton. I live in Visalia, California. That's between Bakersfield and Fresno, and the gateway to Sequoia National Park, about 8 or 9 miles just west of the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's a really pretty area, kind of the jewel of the valley. That's enough about my city, I guess. We're here to talk about ornaments. Ornaments, ornaments, ornaments. Let me grab my little box here and I'll show you what we're going to work on first. And let me do the overhead here. Oh, it's a little, I got it zoomed in a little bit, but you guys can see these nice, all these little ornaments I make every year. Snowmen, little trees, I even make a couple of angels. But we're going to go through, I'm going to show like 4 or 5 of these to get started. And then we'll move on to the hollow globe and finial ornaments, which is kind of crazy how many ornaments I can sell at craft fairs. They're really a hot item, and I really enjoy making them, which is an added plus, that's for sure. So this one, I've got it marked. This is going to be the grooved tree. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to shape it as a nice little shape of a tree, and then I'm going to use a thin parting tool to put grooves all the way down. These are pretty popular items. People like these smaller decorations. I'm just looking for my pin vices here just to make sure I have them so I can put my screw eyes in the top. I'll go through all that. First thing I want to do is I'm going to grab me my small. This is my small roughing gouge. It's 1 inch, I believe. I always forget the size of these things. It's 3/4. I always forget. It's a 3/4 inch spindle roughing gouge. I get it from Packard Woodworks. It's come really in handy for smaller pieces. You can get a lot of shaping done with the small roughing gouge like this. And I use it a lot for shaping all kinds of things. But let's get this thing trued up and then we'll get the shape going. Gotta get my lathe started up. I got it all tightened down. Everything should be ready to go. Just adjust everything, make sure it's tight. Yeah. The good thing about this kind of projects is you can turn them kind of fast. So I'm at like 2,300 RPMs right now. And it makes the cut so much smoother when you do that. You can see it's just a little bit out of round. That's not bad. And this is a piece of maple dowel from the hardware store, 2 inches thick that you use in your closets. It costs like, last time I bought them, I bought a whole bunch a few years ago. The price has probably gone up. Back then, they were like 10 bucks each for a 4-foot section. So I can get a lot of ornaments out of that. So I'm just starting on the inside here and working my way towards the tailstock. I'm doing this unsupported because it is a small ornament. It doesn't really need any support on the end. It doesn't overhang all that much. So I'm going to do most of the shaping, if not all, with this roughing gouge. Gonna be kind of.
Your camera is really out of focus.
Oh, wow, again? Oh, it is, huh?
It just got better.
All right, let me zoom out just a little bit. That's probably the problem. And just probably zoomed in a little too much. And that looks better. How's that look?
Looks good.
All right, good. Thank you for letting me know. Sometimes when I zoom in a little too much, it'll go out of focus. So just let me know if it does it again. We want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of do some light cuts now. Just kind of get this shape going here. I'm going to stop there because I'm just going to put like a little bee type thing on the end there. So I just want to do a nice gentle cut, kind of get as much of the tool marks out of here as I can. And these dowels, they sand up really well. You do a lot of, so I got a little bit of bump there. You want a nice curve from top to bottom. You sand up really nice. The wood is soft enough where it takes sanding really well. And I'm just looking at the shape here. You guys can see that pretty well on camera, I believe. So I'm just gonna have a stop and look and see how smooth we are. Run my hands across it, see if there's any bumps. And there is a slight bump right here. So I'm just gonna clean that up real quick. Believe me, if it's hanging on a tree and it's got a slight bump, you're gonna see it. Any out of shape stuff may not show up too much right now when it's in this position, but once it's hanging on a tree, it will. All right, so we got that. So I'm gonna grab me my small spindle gouge. And I'm just gonna create a small bead on the top here. And then we'll, first thing, oh, that's right. First thing I want to do is put a little divot right in the top. This will be for the eye hook to set into. And we will drill that out in a moment with a pin vise, very small drill bits. So to do this, you want to get the bevel rubbing and you lift the handle up. Once it starts cutting, you just want to twist and push. Don't go too deep or you'll cut this off. And do the same thing on the top here. Just kind of shave it down to a nice round shape there. Sandpaper can do the rest. And now I'm just going to grab me my spindle. I'll just use this one since it's in my hand. So I'm just going to pick up a cut right about in the middle here. I'm going to work my way down where I'm just right underneath that bead to make that bead stand out, just like that. And I'm just cleaning up any tool marks left behind real quick. I'm going to come back here and just do a cleanup cut. That way the sandpaper doesn't have to work so hard. It's kind of feathering right here, so I need to clean that up. Looks like somebody just joined us. Welcome. I always hear a doorbell when somebody comes in. All right, so we got that going. So I'm going to grab me a piece of I believe this is one. Yeah, I got to get a thicker. There we go. Wrong one. This is a piece of 180, just to smooth everything out. I'm going to turn down the lathe when you're sanding, about 600 or so, right in that area. So get rid of all the tool marks, and you'll see how quickly this kind of wood really sands up fast. I always like making these kind of trees. People think they're really unique. There we go. Nice and smooth. Looks good. So next thing I need to pull out is my thin parting tool. And I want to straighten this tool rest out as much as I can. This is my thin parting tool right here. It's kind of, I believe it's 1/16 if I'm not mistaken, half the size of a normal parting tool. And what we want to do is we want to just go straight in with it, and we're just going to go work our way down. I'm just going to eyeball it. You pretty much just keep the same width. The grooves, you got a groove here, so you move the tool twice over and then make another groove, move it twice over, make another groove. That way they're all uniform down the center. So we'll get this going here, turn up the lathe again. These thin parting tools are great. They don't tend to jam up in the kerf of the cut like a larger spindle or parting tool would. So you just want to go straight in with it. And you'll be able to...
When you order those from like Penn State, they come in a tip, and I see that you've modified yours. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, this one is a solid piece, but it has a kind of a small flute right in this area right here. And when you sharpen it, it creates two little teeth on either side of that flute, and it really prevents a lot of tear out. This isn't. I know what kind of parting tools you're talking about that come with a. Those are more like a carbide type of a cutter or parting tool than this. But this one with the flute, it's really a really nice parting tool to use. I use it to cut, close to the chuck if I need to. But what sets this off, a lot of them are just solid bar steel. And there's no groove on the top or no flute. And it's the flute that makes this one unique and allows you to go deep with it without it jamming up on you. I hope that answered your question a little bit.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. And I got good light in here, so you want to be able to have something dark so you can see how deep you're going. That really helps. We're going to go the same depth. And we're going to keep that same thinness all the way down, so we're just going to go deeper and deeper as we go. What's unique about this, I've done it before. I'm a little bit out of practice for it. So you can create different shapes inside here. I've made like snowmen. If you look at it, straight on, you can see a snowman on the inside, another tree on the inside. So this is a really fun project. You can get really creative with it. Okay, that one's a little thin, but that's all right. And I tend to get a little thicker as I get towards the bottom here, as far as how far apart the grooves are. Want to make sure you go straight in. I need my card here. You can see down in there a little bit better. There we go. Sometimes you gotta close one eye just to see how deep you've gone. With practice, you can really know how far you're going by feel. So, that one kind of skated on me a little bit, but we got it. We probably got one more in this. There we go. You see how easy this kind of a tool just cuts right down to the middle there. So I'm just going to grab me my sandpaper again and just lightly go over it to get rid of any fuzz. You'll be able to see the fuzz right there where the cuts are. You want to get rid of that. So it's pretty simple. You just take your sandpaper and you just kind of turn my lathe down a little bit more. It's a little fast. That's why my paper was skipping on me. Sanding isn't a race. I know a lot of people don't like having to sand, but it's all part of woodworking. No matter what kind of woodworking you do, if you want a nice finish on your piece, you do need to learn how to sand, and you need to take the time to do it. A lot of wood turners, they complain about the sanding portion of it, but can't really get away from it. So I'm just gently rubbing it over. I can see those fuzz things disappearing. There we go. So I cleaned up a lot right there. There's a little bit right in the middle ones here, so we'll just clean those up. Another way to get rid of them is you can just get one of these Scotch-Brites and just gently go underneath the bottom here. This helps get rid of some of the fuzz too. You can see little bits coming off the pieces of wood coming off, which are the little bits that the sandpaper didn't quite get. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drill that hole in the center there. And got my pin vise here.
How big is this pin in the middle? 1/4 inch?
The center part's probably about it's the width of my parting tool really that I used. So it's somewhere. I'm just gonna hold this up just to get an idea. It's between 1/16 and 1/8, somewhere in there. It's a little bigger than my parting tool width, I believe. Oh wait, that's about 1/8 of an inch. All the way down. You don't want to go really super thin. This one's already bending. You can see it bend already. That's how weak it's gotten. But that's because it's bending down here at the very bottom, not really at the top. So this is a pin vise that I use. You can get these at hobby stores and such. They come with an assortment of very small bits. They usually take the cap off and they store them on the inside. Really handy little things for this. You can either turn it by hand like this and just twist it in, depending on how delicate your piece is. You might want to do this. This one's a little delicate, so I'm just going to twist that in a little bit. Might be getting a little dull, so I'm going to turn on my lathe, just kind of slow. And that parting tool left a little point, or just a little sharp divot right down into the bottom where this will go right down the center. And just push it in. Just be careful it goes straight. You don't want to break these drill bits off in your piece. I've done that I don't know how many times. Not a fun thing to happen. So I go to Hobby Lobby and I get different kinds of screw eyes. They have 3 different kinds. They've got antique brass. I like these for certain ornaments, especially my hollow globe ornaments. It's got bright silver and of course everybody's favorite, gold. You'll find these in the jewelry sections of most craft stores like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. So we'll put a gold one in this one. I go through these like crazy every year and probably need to get another supply of them already. So while the lathe is turning really slow, or you can twist it in by hand, but I just do it under power. Just put it in that hole and it'll just grab it. And there you go. So now we got to part it up. And you can do it 2 different ways. You can make the bottom just flat. Or you can create like a trunk with a little stand that it stands on. Maybe, if you turn it right, that way you can actually either stand it up on a table or hang it on the tree if you make the trunk part. So let's do the trunk. Let's turn up the lathe. Oh, a little too fast there. There we go. So right here. So I stopped, when I was making the grooves, I stopped short of this. I didn't go past this one part of the shaping because that's where I want the parting tool to work. And you want to go back and forth with your parting tool. Otherwise the kerf can actually close up on you, and that's never a good thing. Okay, so that's deep enough. I'm gonna grab that piece of sandpaper and just get the fuzz off the bottom of this one. I'm not too worried about turning down the lathe just for this part here. Just kind of round that over, make it look pretty real quick. And then we'll create a foot. So we want about half a cut on the parting tool. And I go about halfway down from this part, you know, 1/3 to half depth there. And this is where another thing that the thin parting tool comes in handy for. This is, you cut it really right on close right here. I'm going to do one more cut with my parting tool. Let's take a little more off before I do that part. There we go. We can all hand sand all that bottom there, but there are some tool marks on the bottom, so I'm just going to use my parting tool. Just using the corner of my parting tool, just go down. It's making a slight cove when I do it. Kind of clean that up. People tend to always look at the bottom of things, especially wood turnings and wood items. So we'll part this off right here. Take this all the way down, almost all the way down. And then I'm going to get my little saw. Open that up just a little bit. You feel it kind of closing in on the curve there. There we go. I can just twist it off. It's thin enough to do that. Just like that. And then I would just take sandpaper and just clean up the bottom. And so there we go. We got our first mini ornament right there. Pretty cool. Very fun project. You can see how thin. Let me see if I can get the camera angle right. There. You can see how deep I went with the grooves. How just a little line there. And like I said, you can make that inside shapes, anything you want. I like to make like little snowman shapes and things like that, just to give it a little added touch. If people look at it and they hold it up, they're like, oh wow, there's a snowman in there. Pretty neat. So this is going to be a snowman. What I like to do is either leave them plain without a face. Some people like that. Or I use puff paint to create a little nose. You can see how it sticks out a little bit, and the eyes. That material puff paint, you just it comes in tubes, kind of you just put little deep dabs on there, and it sticks to the wood like cement. It's really hard just to break it off. And it stays soft. It's very pliable. Even this snowman is probably 3 years old, and I can still move it. It really never dries out. It's almost like rubber. It's really pretty strange and interesting stuff. So let me grab one of those snowmen again, just to use as a guide here. I haven't made any snowmen yet this year, so this will be my first one. I've made a bunch of those groove trees and other trees, but I haven't got to the angels or snowmen yet. So grab my small roughing gouge, and we're just going to true this up. And then we'll get a pencil and we'll just mark where we want the hat and rim and things like that. I ain't too worried about tool marks, because they're all going to go away. I just want to make sure the piece.
Put your camera back.
Oh, I will. Definitely. I'm going to switch over to maybe 3 cameras. That way you guys can see how I'm holding the tool in the background there. I'm going to just adjust this camera out just a little ways that way. There you go. So right here in the upper right, you'll be able to see how I'm holding the tools while I'm working it. And you'll see sort of the backside as the shape develops here, and then the overhead. I really like these angles here. You know, to see all three cameras at once are pretty neat. I touched the wood with my tool before I was touching the tool rest. That's what that bang was. And for this one, I need to true up the end because that's where the hat's going to be. So I want to make sure we have a nice flat on the top hat. There we go. Very nice. Now I want to grab a pencil and just kind of eyeball. I'm just going to use my little guy here that I've done in the past. So there's the brim. There's the rim, or this is the hat band right here, the center one. And you can fudge around with how big the head and body you want to make, but I generally do 1/3, 2/3. And always leave enough at the end there to part off. So to get that hat down really quick, I like to use a badan. You can use a parting tool, that's great, but this makes really quick work. It's got a little bit of, I always forget the name, I had it in my head. So then you pull up a burr, it's a burr on the tip there, just like a scraper. And it does really quick work of taking the wood down. So I just want to try to even everything out as close as I can. You actually use the corner of this tool, take it across the surface there and do a really nice cleanup, just like that. Now this is going to be the hat band, so you don't want to go all the way down. You want to leave it a little proud, and so we're going to color that. And now we need to take the brim down a little bit. We can adjust the size of the brim as we go for the rest of the piece. Now I want to get up my parting tool. Right in the center of that line I created, I'm just going to dive in a little ways there. And right under the brim also. Take it under the brim a little ways. That way you got working room for your spindle gouge. You're not going to keep bumping into the different wood. So we're just going to take these down. Kind of waste a lot of this wood away. You can see I'm starting to cut up and then I'm just kind of twisting it down. Just going to go the opposite way here. Kind of twist it right under the hat, but not quite. We'll come back with the parting tool and clean that up. And then we're going to take some of this away too. Start shaping it. Have the flute facing up, start to cut, and then just do the twist. Once you get some practice, this can go pretty quick. So the snowman's a little bigger. That's all right. They can be all different kinds of sizes. So we got the body going here. We need to take a little bit more down for the body here. So we're going to kind of round all this over. Take the wood down right there. And just gently do a push as we twist all the way down into that groove down here. Just make sure you don't, the top flute does not rub on the head, or you can get a catch. If you twist it too far, that top flute will catch on that top side there, cause you a heck of a problem. So I'm just going to kind of round the base over a little bit here. The snowman ornament's going to be a little bit bigger. There's nothing wrong with that. And we're going to, later on in the demo, we're going to go to my workbench. I'm going to show you guys how I put those eyes and the nose and stuff on. I got all that set up over there. You kind of, I don't want a totally round thing going under the hat. Leave the top of his head a little wider than the bottom base here. Just add a little shape there. Clean that up. Kind of get rid of some of those major tool marks. Some really light cuts, and then we'll come back in with the sandpaper. Get rid of all those. But on the hat, we will do that while it's on the lathe. It's much easier than painting it by hand. So now I'm going to come in with a very small detail gouge, and I'm just going to clean up underneath this hat. This is a 1/4 inch detail gouge from Doug Thompson. And we just want to kind of bring it in and clean that up. And then drill just a little bit because it is a small tool. But I'm just cleaning up the underside of his brim there, getting rid of some tool marks. Using the wing of the tool. And so I'm going to tuck that back into there a little bit. There we go. And if you want, you could just come in here and make this a little bit deeper if you want. Using the same tool. There we go. Now we're just going to look at it. Does the hat look too big, too small? I think it's a little too big for this guy. So I'm going to grab me my bandana again. I'm just going to take the hat down a little bit. This is all adjustable if you go. Plus, we're going to do a little bit of an adjustment on the shape of this hat here in a minute. There we go. Go a little bit deeper. Now I'm just cutting on an angle here. You can see the shape kind of forming there. I'm going to start at the top using the corner of the bandana and just create that shape. Take the hat band down a little bit. There we go. Got a nice looking hat there. So let me grab the sandpaper. Always toss it to the side where I shouldn't. There you are. So you want to turn down the lathe. Get it up to around 500-600. Smooth everything out so the paint looks nice when you paint the hat. Just gonna sand this body down, everything with tool marks. You can use that puff paint to make little buttons on them if you want. Or you can get little button or things at craft fairs or craft stores that you could glue onto his belly here. So there's kind of a deep groove right there left by the tool, so I need to work the sandpaper just a little more right in here. There we go. Come underneath. Get underneath the hat. Looks like we need a little more sanding right here. Right, this section here, I can see a little bit of a slight groove. Now I just want to take the edge of the sandpaper and come under the rims and move it to this side. Depending on what part of the piece you're sanding, that's what you want to adjust to where you're putting the sandpaper, coming underneath or on top. So it'd be kind of, I like to come around on the top here because I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. If I'm doing an underside like this towards the headstock. If it's towards the head tailstock, I like to face it this way. I put the sandpaper, if the detail I'm sanding is towards the tailstock, that's the angle I put the paper at. All right, we got a nice little snowman going. I'm just gonna touch up some sanding right here. See a little bit of a dark line. See? Doesn't look like very much snow when there's a dark line in there. Have a better look. Yeah, that's much better. So far, so good, right? So to paint the hat. Whew. I like to use paint markers. These are markers just loaded with paint. And I have a black one. I believe it's over here in my drawer. I thought it was in my bag, but I don't see it. Oh, darn. I've got my white one there, but not my black one. I thought I had it out. Well, we'll just have to use a black Sharpie for this. Works just as well. I prefer using the paint. I guess I'm gonna have to get me a new black paint marker. I might have used it up last year. Didn't realize it. So we'll just take this across with the marker here. Nice and slow and even, not really fast. So I use the tool rest as a support. And this marker is kind of dried out, so I'm going to grab me one more. I always keep a handful of black ones. You never know. Oh, there. Well, you know what? Instead of black, see, I left the black right there, but I'm going to change the color of that. I really don't like the black. So to get rid of that, just do some sanding real quick. I'm just going to make his hat purple. So I'm going to reverse my lathe so the top is turning away from me. That way it doesn't tear up the tip of my tool or my marker. There we go, nice purple. You see how the wood kind of eats away at the tip of these after a while. And let's get the front here. Go. Now this is the delicate part, doing the rim. You want to take it down part way. Not all the way down to where the hat band is. You can just gently tuck it in, but not all the way to where it's going to hit the top of his head. So now I'm going to grab me a nice gold color marker, since I'm already using the markers anyway. This is a brass color. Just to make his hat brim stand out just a little bit. Be careful not to touch the colors together, kind of round it over just a little bit. Okay, so the rim, we've got a little bit of purple or brass on the hat itself, so I'm going to come back in and just very gently just kind of erase that away. There we go. Another swipe across there. Leave the pin out because I still need to cut a little divot in the top for the screw eye. Grab me my parting tool. We want that marker to fill in this spot right here. Find the center and just kind of, doesn't have to go very deep, just enough to, for that screw eye have some place to rest in. Fill that in with the pin. Turn it down. We're going to grab that pin vise again. Take it down. Nice and gentle. Don't need to apply a bunch of force on these drill bits. So for this one, being a snowman, I'm going to use a silver eye hook. We are with the snow theme here. As soon as it grabs, it'll go in. It should. Come on. It's weird. That's what happened. Going the wrong way. There we go. So we got a nice shape going there. I'm going to come back with that purple marker and fill in those little. Come in and just fill all that in. Or missed. Or you can leave it natural, or if you want it a little rustic, you can leave those little divots for the pendant and get in there and color it if you want. And I notice it needs a little bit on the hat as well. Let's fill in where it's really noticeable here. Being the same color, it'll blend in once it dries. All right. This little guy is ready to part off, so it's time to grab that thin parting tool here. First thing I want to do is grab my the parting tool, and I'm just going to smooth this out, bring it down, make it easier to use the thin parting tool. I'm just going to bring this down to the body here. And smooth it with the corner of the parting tool. There we go. Turn up the speed just a little bit. See how these are really great for getting right up against the chuck. Before I go any further, I'm going to use my spindle gouge, and I'm just going to kind of round this over right here. So it's not such a sharp edge. Give a little more roundness to the guy. Touch it with the sandpaper here. There we go. Then parting tool. And when a tool on the floor. There we go. A little back and forth here. And I'm just going to get it thin enough where I can just twist it off. And of course we can put the little the disc sander pad into the chuck jaws, my pin jaws, and clean all that up on the bottom. I'll get to that in a little while, but we move on to our next ornament. we will make an angel. These are pretty popular little, and these, you can make these different shapes. These are my little angels I like to make. I use a belt sander just to flatten the wings. I've got a belt sander set up over there on my workbench. You can actually make little halos that go on top by getting a 1x1 piece of wood that's like walnut or something, and turn it around and then drill it out and then do slice cuts. You'll have little halos you could put on there. I do a lot of craft fairs at churches, and I always sell out of the angels. This one's a little more, a few more delicate cuts than the other two we just did. So let's true this one up. As you can see, this started up a little, not exactly running true, but it's still tight in the chuck, so we're just gonna use this to get it trued up. I just like to true the pieces up. It gets rid of any vibration you might be experiencing. I'll be taking a lot of wood off for this one. I'm just going to start doing that now. I'm just going to take it down the head here. You can make these, I also make larger angels that can sit on a table. There we go. I'm going to grab the one I've got. Just grab a pencil and use this as a guide. I like the shape of this one, so I always like to try to use what I've already done. So that's the bottom of the head. This is where the wings will be. And the rest of the body is basically a very long ogee curve. It curves in slightly, so continuous curves, you can see, kind of curves down, and then it picks up the curve about in the middle and works its way down under the wings. So I'm going to grab my badan and take this down to where it's just straight. And straighten this out for the wings. Seems like these ornaments aren't coming out as small as I usually make them. That's all right. Gonna take a lot of wood away. So the first thing I want to do is grab my parting tool. I'm going to come in under the wings right here, so the body will tuck under where the wings are. Just kind of get rid of some of that. Then I'm just going to do kind of steps, just to get a general idea of the shape I'm looking for. And then it gets kind of wider at the bottom, so we're just going to bring it out. So you got the shape kind of tucked in there. So you want to start shaping the head first, so I'm going to bring my tool rest a little bit closer. Got an angle there. And it's just a kind of just a large bead. And my tool rest is a little high for these cuts, so I want to adjust it down. And just kind of bringing the handle around, swinging it around, and giving it a twist right here. And just going to fix up the shape a little bit more. Gonna flatten its head out just a little bit. It's a little too sharp for what I like. There we go. So now I want to make the shape of the wings. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to do a twist. So I get a sharp point halfway, work my way down this way, halfway. You can see how I've got the flute closed when I start to cut. And I just slip it on down to the bottom of the head. Clean up that cut right there. Do a pull cut to kind of get rid of some of those tool marks. And I still need to make it start on the shape here. I'm giving it a twist under the wings. Push cut with the tip of the tool to the groove there. Straight cut. And that's a little bit too big of a body I want right there, so I'm going to take it down a little bit more. There we go. Twist. And I'm just going to do a straight clean up cut under the wings. See a couple tool marks there. And just do a pull cut to kind of smooth everything out. So now I just want to start working on that OG curve. So I'm coming in right at the center here. This is where I'm bringing a curve in. And a twist, and then I'm just going to lighten up that cut before I get to the bottom there. Just let it go. And then at the bottom here, I'm just going to do a cove. Working with the grain of the wood. You go a little bit thinner. And I need to bring this down a little bit more. Thought the body was just a little heavy. And let's do a couple of cleanups here. And when we get to the second half of the demo, I'll be at the workbench, and that's when I'll show you how I sand the wings. Pretty basic stuff, not too difficult. Just kind of clean up the tool marks on his head a little bit. You don't have to work so hard with the sandpaper. And one more cut down this way just to clean stuff up, make sure there's no major bumps. So that picked up a bump right there in the middle. So I'm going to stop it and fill it with my fingers. Feels good, nice flow. I need to spruce that up a little bit. There's a little bit of tear out, so I got to take some gentle cuts right there on the edge. So I got my flute completely closed at 3 o'clock. And I'm just going to come in right at the edge there and gently come in and just touch that and then come out of the cut. You know, nice crisp wing there. So that got rid of all that tear out. Just come in with a piece of sandpaper. Clean this up a little bit. And we'll drill the hole for the screw eye again. One of these days I'm going to figure out how I can do giveaways during my demos, so I can do giveaways for my the pieces I make. I've always wanted to do that. Sometimes some of the demonstrators, they'll do like a trivia question, and the first person that answers the trivia question will win the piece too. And I'm thinking that might be a good way to go, instead of trying to mess with a spinning wheel and having to load everybody's name into it. Wouldn't be a really hard trivia question, and you would be allowed to go to Google and look it up. You just have to be the first one to answer in the chat. I think that would be a fun way to give stuff away. See how knowledgeable people are as far as for wood turning, and some of them, they do it to see if people are paying attention during a demo, and they ask a question of what something that you did early on in the demonstration, see if they can remember it. I think that would be a fun way to do it. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of a little thing like that. So you need to put that little divot in the top. This is the one thing about making ornaments. You got to remember to do this each time. Otherwise, it makes it more difficult to put the eye screws in. So I got me in different pin vise with a different drill bit in it because I think the other one was getting dull. And I got the weight kind of turning fast, but no problem as long as you go straight in there. So I'm going to put I'm going to grab me a gold for the angel. Turn down the weight a little bit. I like to do this all before I part it off. There we go. So this one's screw eye's a little loose. I think that drill bit was a little big. Yeah, always take it out and put a little dab of CA glue in there. Screw it back in and you're good to go. And my small miniature or my thin parting tool again, and we're just going to part this off. We're going to do one more miniature ornament before we head off to do the hollow globe one, and it's going to be a textured tree using texturing tools. And we might take a comfortable break between the two projects here or segments. Oh. Yeah, one thing I forgot to do on this one, as you can see, it's kind of tore out. I should have sanded it. Got ahead of myself, but I can fix that up when I got the disc sander in here. Just kind of round that all over. So these are the textured trees that I'm talking about here. You do all different kinds of colors. Let me do the overhead and I go see better. There we go. I like to use the knurling tool on this. You can use an elf tool or even the spiraling texturing tool. One thing you can't use on this, which is unfortunate, is a texturing tool. Texturing tools only work on ingrain. Try to use it on this and it just cuts up the wood, makes it look kind of ugly. So this will go quick. I'll make quick work of turning this to shape. So I'm going to true up the end here real quick. And we want to make sure the piece is true, so we just to make sure. Helps with any vibration that might come up. All right, so I'm going to make quick work of this. So I'm going to angle my tool rest a little bit. So I'm going to go into production mode just a little bit here, so we can get through the shaping and get to the texturing part. So let's get this to shape. Once you practice some of these, you can you can make a lot of them pretty darn quick. So this is going to be the top little button. So I just want to get that shape going here, nice, slow, and even now. You don't need to be so much of a hurry just to get this into the shape we like. It's kind of a tool marks right here. Want to clean up before we hit it with the sandpaper. Kind of get the shape a little bit better. There we go. You can make them straight up and down. You can make them all kinds of different shapes. There's a high point right here that I'm working to get rid of. That card right there so I can see the shape a little better. So there's a little bit of a bump right in this area. I'm going to smooth that out into the shape. It's always the part towards the headstock that always gets the tool marks the most. There we go. That's where I stop the cuts mostly. There's a kind of a bump right here. I can see it. So I put that card down because I can see the shape much better. Just getting the shape right. There we go. Even though I know it's a demo piece, I still like to get it as close as I can to nice. So let's put this little top on there, little button. Little bead right on the top of the piece here. And we'll do a little bit of an undercut here. And we'll come in here with the tool and just bring it right up under the bead there and kind of turn it underneath. There we go. Kind of a flat bead here, so I'm just going to kind of round it over a little bit better. Especially right in this area. That's better. Still not happy with it. Gonna round it over. Alright. We'll turn down the lathe and we'll sand it up. Tell the tourist out of the way. Sandpaper helps round that over. We'll come in here and just put that little divot and drill a hole. Got the pin vise with the right size drill bit in this one. Before we put the screw eye in that, I'm gonna do some texturing here. So I've got both of my knurling tools here. They're both two different sizes. I'll use both. I'll use the small one at the top, then the large, and I'll just work my way down, staggering each size. I'm going to turn down my lathe down to about 800. These are impression tools. They don't actually cut the wood like a regular texturing tool will or spiraling tool. These are actually metalworking tools. Somebody decided, let's try it in wood, and it does. It leaves a nice impression in there, but you got to remember to hold it into the piece and rock it back and forth and leave it in there long enough for that impression to show up. One thing I discovered when I was learning how to do it is I never let the tool stay on the wood long enough. And I should have been long enough for that one. We got some nice texture going there. So let's grab the larger piece. We're not going to put them right next to each other. We'll put grooves on each side of these. And then we'll color them. Just use Sharpie markers again. And we'll just stagger which size of these. So sort of acts like branches almost. We've got some flies in my shop today. I do not know where they came from, unfortunately. There we go. One more, and then we'll get that small wheel and do it right at the bottom of the tree. This one will fit right in here. I'm going to grab my very sharp point tool. And I had it out. I do believe. There you are. So this isn't your regular point tool. This is sharpened at a very, very long, sharp point. And the only thing I use it for is for making these type of grooves. I find that the regular type of point tool with the more blunt doesn't create quite the deep of the shape and the depth of the groove that I like. So I like to use this type of point tool. And this highlights each texture spot here. And also kind of separates it like they're branches. More at the bottom, and we'll have a look, see how it came out. All right, we got some really nice texture there. So I'm going to grab me a little piece of white pad and turn on the lathe and use it to just get rid of the fuzzies. These tools always leave some fuzz behind. You don't want to go crazy with it, because eventually if you rub this too much, it will make that texturing disappear. This isn't abrasive, although very light, but it is enough. If you just spend too much time on it, it will take down the texturing just like sandpaper will. All right, so we got to decide what colors do we want to use. Well, I've got a whole mess of markers here. So I'm thinking green for a Christmas tree. Let's do green and red, just for holiday colors on this tree. So we'll use the red on the smaller section so it doesn't stand out too much, and the green on the wider sections here. So I want to reverse the lathe so the top is turning away from me. That way I can just, you want it around 900 RPMs, that way the ink just skips across the texture. And you can see the bare wood underneath it. And we'll use the green on the wider parts. There you go. Now if you really want to get fancy with it, and it's like, why not? Let's get fancy with it. Where's my... Let's burn some lines in those grooves just to make them pop. So you want to turn on the lathe, move the towels, the tool rest back, so you can just lay this wire across the top here, right in those grooves until it starts smoking. And move a little bit faster. It's smoking it up enough. I might have to get it. There it goes. You don't want to wrap the wire around like this. You want to keep it straight up and down, or straight across and tight. Once you see some smoke, you just let off. Missed the line right there. This actually kind of helps highlight everything. One more. Nice, so I'll set the wire aside to let it cool down. And I'm looking for my other... What happened in there? I did have other... I had a silver markers. I don't see them. I was going to highlight that knob on the top. I don't see it. Let's try this one. This one looks like brass. So we'll use brass for the little decoration on top. So we want to turn the lathe down. Just gotta take it across there. Fill it in. Fill in that little dip right there. And we'll put another gold eye screw in this one to match what we did for the top there. Oh, that's what happened. Gotta turn the lathe on the right way or the threads don't take. There we go. Very cool ornament here. I really like making these. And if you are a seller at craft shows, these are a big seller, just to let you know. Back to the thin parting tool. The thin parting tool is getting a workout today. So we're not going to create a foot or anything on this one. What I'm doing is going back and forth a little bit just to open up that curve. And I want to grab that piece of sandpaper. There it is. Just clean up the bottom where we just put that groove. Round it over just a little bit. There we go. We'll just take it down again like we did before to where we can just twist it off. And there is very little holding this on. It's surprising how pliable wood and how strong it is just by that little joint. That little, just that amount just right there is holding the whole thing on. It wasn't wobbling or anything. So it's pretty resilient stuff, wood is. So we're gonna call it a day. I think we went through a lot of ornaments and I hope you guys learned a lot. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. All right. Well, I guess it's time to
Thank you, Scott.
see you next time.
Fantastic demo, Scott. Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Tell your friends. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.